Part 2 of Mario Puzo's The Last Don is at midnight.
Hi, I'm Bob Monkhouse. Welcome again to What a Performance, which tonight turns the spotlight on, now get this cast list, Basil Fawlty, Tony Hancock, Rigsby, Steptoe, Victor Meldrew, and Blackadder, or, as we affectionately call them, the miserable gits. A miserable git, according to one definition, is a combination of braggart, racist, chauvinist, reactionary, tight-fisted, toe-rag, and pessimist. Pessimist, of course, being someone who believes most women are immoral. An optimist just hopes they are. But what, I hear you say, really makes our miserable gits so spectacularly gittish? With their help, and with the assistance of some celebrated connoisseurs of gittishness, we're about to find out.
S-O-D, sod!
Miserable gits, basically, are a bunch of egotists. They're self-centered people who can't understand why the world doesn't meet their requirements.
Excuse me, I just forgot something. Thank you very much.
Miserable gits really have to have somebody that they can victimise and somebody that'll just take it.
Baldric, does it have to be this way? Our valued friendship ending with me cutting you into long strips and telling the prince that you walked over a very sharp cattle grid in an extremely heavy hat?
They work best when they're in positions of moderate authority.
Your lambs will be getting cold, Mr. Johnston.
Colder?
If you'd like them warmed up,
I get it.
you could get your wife to sit on them.
They all have this extraordinarily dignified idea of what Britain is supposed to be. It's slightly old-fashioned, and it's blazery, and it's a little bit of dignity.
I mean, I came in here in all good faith to help me country. I don't mind giving a reasonable amount, but a pint? That's very nearly an armful.
The essence of the miserable git is his dreams can never come true. And he's angry not with himself, but with the world.
Ah, it was a big mistake. We got married during wartime, you know, glamour of the uniform. Yeah, we're on ration then. Been on ration ever since.
Now, let me tell you about Donald Sinclair, not a name you instantly associate with comedy, Donald Sinclair, but his contribution is worth a king's ransom in repeats. He's the man who inspired Fawlty Towers. When John Cleese and the Pythons stayed at his hotel during filming for their series, Sinclair was so rude that all the other Pythons actually moved out, but Cleese knew he was onto something.
I said good night.
Oh, good night.
Didn't hurt, did it? Good manners cost nothing, girl.
He's not feeling very well, Basil.
You only have to say good night here. It's not the Gettysburg Address, is it?
Basil Fawlty is definitely a miserable git. Why? Because his life's terrible. Because he's just stuck in this... He's created for himself the most appalling straitjacket. He's doing the least suitable job in the world.
He's a misogynist, he's a racist, he's all of those things, and yet he's a hotelier.
Well, may I ask what you were expecting to see out of a Torquay hotel bedroom window? Sydney Opera House, perhaps? The hanging gardens of Babylon? Herds of wildebeest sweeping majestically?
I expect to be able to see the sea.
You can see the sea. It's over there between the land and the sky.
I mean, I'm on the side of the main characters when I watch things on telly. I want Basil to succeed, and when you know he's heading for a fall, as is true of all farce, I have to look away and, oh, please don't offend the nice German people, you know. And he does.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch?
I beg your pardon?
Entschuldigen Sie bitte, können Sie Deutsch sprechen?
I'm sorry, could you say it again?
You speak German?
Oh, German! I'm sorry, I thought there was something wrong with you.
I only have to imagine what he'd be like to have power over someone else. The way he hits Manuel is a perfect expression of the way he would like to treat us all.
Get a clean one. He's clean now. Oh, he's dirty now.
I love when he physically abuses him, which is terrible, but it is so funny when he says to me, "Let me explain," and pokes him in the eye. That is fantastically funny.
Right, Rob, let me explain. Ah! You understand?
Perfect.
pairing. Andrew Sachs just coming to above, it seemed, waist level on John Cleese.
It's that height. You just go, boom, and, you know, that, ow, Mr. Forty.
This Basil's wife. This Basil. This smack on head.
At one point, he has to hit me on the back of the head with a frying pan, which I was glad was the last shot of the show, because I don't think I could have got out again. There were 2 frying pans supplied, and they were next to each other off stage somewhere. And the one he was to hit me with was heavily padded at them, and he picked up the wrong one. I could hear the angels in heaven singing on that day. And the noise, the sound effect to it, that moment, was not put in by some radio engineer at the BBC. That was it. That was frying pan hitting head.
Fawlty's relationship with Manuel is guaranteed prime British comedy because it's a great big Englishman perpetrating violence upon a very small foreigner. And I think we all laugh at things like that in this country, strangely enough.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Oh, good morning, Major. I'm so sorry. I'm afraid the dining room door seems to have disappeared.
Just the sight of Basil Fawlty behind his desk is somehow just says it all, you know, the rather pathetic attempt at military ties and these absurd conversations with the Major, who ought to be his one ally in Fawlty Towers, the one with whom he can speak, but of course there's always incredible cross-communication.
Morning, Fawlty.
Oh, hello, Major.
Any sign of the papers?
Well, you've got it, Major.
Have I? Oh, yes, I have. Why, I say, Fawlty, he doesn't look quite the ticket.
Well, Major, don't say anything to anybody, but he's dead.
Ah. Shot, was he?
No, died in his sleep.
In his sleep? Ah, well, you're off your guard, you see.
Yes.
Everything about Basil is fake. His jacket, his trousers, his shoes, his moustache. And so is his kit of parts in his mind, his opinions, his idea of the gentleman and gentlemanly behaviour.
I know it's a bit late, but do you know if there's a chemist still open? Do you know if there's a chemist still open?
I suppose you think this is funny, do you?
Funny?
Ha, ha, ha.
No, I really want to know.
Oh, do you? Well, I don't. So far as I know, all the chemists are shut. You'll just have to wait till tomorrow. Sorry. Bit of a blow, I imagine.
What?
Nothing, you heard. Is that all?
Well...
Yes?
I don't suppose you've got a...
Now, look!
The sexual relationship is fascinating. Obviously, nothing of the kind has occurred for decades between them. Liking probably never came into it. Love went out the window years ago. They're just locked together.
If you look at Sybil, I wouldn't be surprised if he was sexually repressed because she looks very, very frustrated.
Basil always seems to be very embarrassed by Sybil's flirting. And a young man comes on the scene. Sybil's, oh, hello, you know, and he just hates that to pieces.
Oh, well, you're only single once.
Twice can be arranged.
And it was just fantastic little skewers in all the time. But they work so well because he's not allowed to say it, and then an opportunity comes up, and then he does it.
If I find out the money on that horse was yours, you know what I'll do, Basil?
I'll have to sew him back on first.
Sybil is completely in charge, and I think that is one of the great frustrations of Basil's life, because the fact is he needs somebody else to be in charge because he's so incapable.
I'm not nervous. I'm just saying take it easy, all right? All of us, just take it easy, right? Nothing's got easy. I'm just saying take it... I mean, can't I say take it easy without starting a panic? I mean, what is going on here?
Look, Mr. Fawlty, take it easy.
Now, look, we'll get one thing clear, all right? You don't tell me to take it easy. All right? I don't pay you to tell me to take it easy. I pay you to take it easy. No, I pay you to tell you to take it easy, so take it easy, all right?
Well, in his own mind, he's capable of anything. And yet, deeper in his own mind, he knows he's not. And the result is rage. And the rage is really against himself, but it's directed outwards.
Well, don't say I haven't warned you. I've laid it on the line to you time and time again. Right, well, this is it. I'm going to give you a damn good thrashing.
For some people, his hysteria is too near the mark. And they get upset rather than laugh.
I mean, my father saying, almost, I mean, while tears were streaming down his eyes of laughter, saying, I almost can't watch this. I'm watching pain. You know, you're watching a man in pain.
Oh, please. It's taken us 12 years to build this place up. Don't put this in the book. We're finished if you don't. Please don't.
Book? What book?
The hotel guy. Oh, sorry. I shouldn't have mentioned it. What have I done?
You got me confused with someone else. I'm nothing to do with any hotel guide. I'm down here for the exhibition. I sell outboard motors. All right?
The essential Basil Fawlty moment is when he's alone with himself, knees locked together, feet 3 feet apart, his fingernails coming through his own hands with the strain of his passion, sweat spurting from his forehead, screaming at himself, at the situation he's got himself in.
I love to watch Fawlty again and again and again because he occupies a sort of madness, and I think that it is the sort of madness that most of us are pretty close to. The point at which we rein ourselves in, he goes for it hell for leather.
This is typical. Absolutely typical. The kind of arse I had to put up with from you people. You punts in here expecting to be hand-weighted on hand and foot while I'm trying to run a hotel here. Have you any idea of how much there is to do? Do you ever think of that? Of course not. You're too busy sticking your noses into every corner, poking about for things to complain about, aren't you? Well, let me tell you something. This is exactly how Nazi Germany started. Nailed out with nothing better to do than to cause trouble. Well, I've had 15 years of pandering to the likes of you, and I've had enough. I've had it. Come on. Pack your bags and get out!
Do you know, not everybody was bowled over by Fawlty Towers. A famous memo on the wall of the BBC's head of light entertainment at the time read, very boring sitcom with cliched characters. That chap's not with a beep anymore. On to Tony Hancock. Tony's voice was a wonderful instrument for comedy, hence his huge success on radio. But when the voice was allied with that extraordinary lugubrious face that could switch from grovelling servitude to chippy defiance at the drop of a gag, then his television success was assured.
Hancock.
I've noticed you. You're always on your own, aren't you?
Yes, thank you.
Don't join in anything, do you?
I enjoy being on my own.
Are you an eccentric?
No, I'm not. Just leave me alone.
Do a lot of reading, don't you? You'll hurt your eyes, you will.
I'll hurt yours in a minute.
To me, Tony Hancock is I think, probably one of only 3 comedians that you can really say were genius.
When you look at Tony Hancock's face, when it settles and does nothing, the corners of his mouth turn down.
I don't know. I wish something exciting would happen.
Quite a lot of the miserable gits do. That's their resting place. So anything that comes out of that, the slightest flicker of a smile, even in the eyes, lights up the whole face. It's a great gift to be born with a miserable face for comedy.
Would you care to sum up for the prosecution?
Certainly, my lad. Oh, I don't like him. Dead smarmy, certainly, my lad. Oh, swipe me, there's a crawler for you.
I was very much impressed with my learned friend's appeal for this man's innocence. Very much impressed with that appeal.
I'll give him a kick up the wig.
He had that gift that W.C. Fields had. He never led. He had a dialogue with himself. He could actually talk to himself on air. It's remarkable how little he projects. It's just his personality is so big, but he lets you in on it.
He would be reading a book, and he's trying to make sense of it. And you don't know what's on the page. You know, one hasn't a clue what's on the page, but it's just writ large across his face that he doesn't get a word of it.
Tony Hancock was the definitive example of the man with pretensions. Thought he was well-read, thought he had a cultivated mind.
As Shakespeare said in The Merchant of Vienna,
When Portion accused Sherlock Holmes of bitching a pound of meat.
The essence of the comedy is he speaks with tremendous authority and speaks what we know to be nonsense, which all of us do at some time in our lives. He just does it all the time.
Don't look like babysitters, indeed. And what, pray, do babysitters look like? Did Rembrandt look like a musician? Of course you didn't.
You can't talk about Hancock without talking about Sid James. They are the great comic partnership.
Sid James knows every failing that Hancock has, but Sid still needs him because the man who doesn't dream needs the dreamer. They're actually two halves of a human personality.
Sid moves in society with graceless ease. Everybody knows him, everybody respects him, everyone's a little bit frightened of him, and he moves. Whereas Hancock, as soon as he enters society, thinks that there are only two things you can do. You can either be an oik like Sid, or you have to wear a cravat and pretend to be, you know, Bartholomew Snodge. And that comes across beautifully when they're talking to women, just when they're talking to other people.
Come on, Edie. Don't let's waste any more time on this middle-aged Ted. Let's go down to the youth club.
The youth club, you two? Go on, get your leopard skin legs out of here.
You want to get rid of him, mate. He's a right drag on you.
I shall be forced to fill you in a minute, madam.
That's it. Go on, hit her, lady. Go on, hit her.
All right, show me your lady and I will hit her. That way no, mate, that way no.
He understood where the camera was. The camera is closer to you than it can anybody ever will be in real life. And you really have to feel the emotion and exteriorize it only by what it does to your face when you feel it. He was a method actor, essentially. And I think it lay deep within his personality. The character is very, very close to him.
Your own comedy character, the one we know in Hancock's How About, swagger, bluster, and then not being very effectual in the end. How much is it a comment on your...
Oh, to a great extent, I mean, shall we say the character that... it isn't a character that I play, that I put on and off like a coat. It is greatly a part of me and a part of everybody else that I see.
The amazing thing to remember about Hancock is that he never had a funny thought in his life. He never wrote a funny word. He certainly never performed a funny action off his own bat.
Well, there's this bird in this room with this bloke, you see, and suddenly the door's flung open and her husband rushes in.
Where the genius came from was being able to look at somebody else's work, you know, be it Galton Simpson or whoever, look at their work and think, right, what can I do? What can I put in this? What is within me that can make this work? There is an argument that as we watch Hancock now, our enjoyment of it should be tempered by the fact that we know that the misery and the pain and the paranoia was all too real. Don't ever be fooled by that. Laugh. Laugh as heartily as you can. The fact is that the performances are absolute gold dust.
And every speck of it was 22 carat. Miserable Gits have always been a staple of any Impressionist's act, and I'll be back after the break with two of their favourites, and mine, and yours, Rigsby and Steptoe.
He waits. That's what he does. And I tell you what, tick followed tock, followed tick, followed tock, followed tick. Ahab says, I don't care who you are, here's to your dream. The old sailors returned to the bar. Here's to you, Ahab! And the fat drummer hit the beat with all his heart. Here's to waiting.
Good evening. Here is the news. Dragon spotted inside Newcastle and Windsor. We have the pictures. Mayhem on our motorways. A full report. Gold rush fever hits Legoland. And finally, the stuntman that'll go to any lengths to get a laugh. Very funny.
Wouldn't you like to change gear at the touch of a button? Now you can. The new Alpha 156 Cellar Speed, the first production saloon car with sequential transmission control on the steering wheel. From £21,993, Alpha 156 Cellar Speed.
Hello? Yeah, I'm in a bit of a rush, mate. No, it's okay, I can talk. Smart. Hello? Yeah, I'm in a bit of a rush, mate. No, it's okay, I can talk. What's the matter?
BT Cellnet brings you new ways of communicating, like our One Phone, the only home phone that's also a mobile. You never know, it might change your life. BT Cellnet, good call.
You are a dyed-in-the-wool, fascist, reactionary, squalid little know-your-place, don't rise above yourself, don't get out of your hole, complacent little turd. I haven't finished yet. You are morally, spiritually and physically a festering, fly-blown heap of accumulated filth.
What do you want for your tea?
Welcome back to Miserable Gits, and to everyone else who's watching. It's a curious irony that, had Tony Hancock not parted company with Ray Galton and Alan Simpson, there would have been no Steptoe and Son. Not about to let two great writers lie idle, the BBC commissioned them to write a series of half-hour comedy pilots, and one of them was called The Offer, and it turned out to be an offer the BBC couldn't refuse. A quick change of title, and one of television's most memorable and ghastly old gits shuffled his disgusting, smelly, moth-eaten way into our lives.
You don't know nothing. You can't spell. You're not competent. I've been a rag and bone man all my life. For so what? I was a rag and bone man before you was born.
Must be a rag and bone man after you're dead.
How do you know?
I'll kill you if you don't shut up.
You can't argue in films or television through the years that what people look like is a very important consideration. And all the great monsters in sitcom have been blessed with very definite faces and exaggerated their appearance.
He was physically repellent. It was a triumph by the actor, who was, I imagine, was really 18 years old.
Well, that's a bit of luck, isn't it? Best set of teeth I ever had, these are. Not making teeth like these nowadays.
Albert doesn't mind living in squalor and enjoys his mittens and his little white stubble and his and all the rest of it. And Harold was just a touch of dignity everywhere, which is why the catchphrase, if there was such a thing from the show, was "You filthy, disgusting old man! Oh my God!"
You dirty old man!
There was a lot of the repulsion about the old man. There were lots of scenes where he was eating, or I don't know, maybe putting whiskey into tea bags or something. The horrible combinations that were just so repulsive, which It's just another example. It threw your sympathies towards the younger Steptoe.
Harold! Your breakfast ready? They'll be here in a minute. Hurry up!
Big Father, do not be so raucous.
Oh, God, look what the cat's dragged in.
I think the father relishes shooting him down. I think he relishes it. Because what it does is it reaffirms their closeness.
He knew that he could make him do exactly what he wanted by doing the sad old man trick on him. Every time he pulled it, it worked. Because Harold loves his dad.
No, it'd be better if I just stay here by myself. And then they won't know.
You can't stay here by yourself.
Well, no option, have I? Oh, don't you worry. I'll be all right. There'll be plenty to do. I'll go down to the cemetery and sit with your mother.
Although his dad maybe protects him from the harsh realities of life where old Harry H. would have got shot down or disappointed, there's also the chance that he might have succeeded as well.
That's another thing you never helped me with. I mean, my teacher said that I was musically inclined and you ought to encourage me. But you wouldn't buy me a piano, would you, now? You taught me how to whistle instead.
It's a very, very destructive relationship. And it goes on being destructive. There's always something more to destroy. That's the strength of the sun. He never stops dreaming.
How about some caca?
Cocoa would be there, yes.
Soup, lovely, yes. Go make some caca.
Now, I want to watch.
Go make some caca.
I think Steptoe is full of pathos. I mean, I remember watching a rerun of one where Harold wants to, I think he strikes up a friendship with an antiques dealer. And actually this antiques dealer is gay, but Harold doesn't know that, and he kind of doesn't want to know it because all he knows is it's a bridge to another existence.
Cigarette? Oh, they're nice. Thank you.
They're black.
Yes, they're Russian. I have them made for me.
You wouldn't have a Woodbine, I suppose.
I'm afraid not. Do try one.
No, thanks. They make me cough me guts up something rotten.
It's a very advanced kind of plot, 'cause it was quite an early one. You know, they were just extraordinary writers, Galton and Simpson, and you know, they can be credited in a sense with giving British television the space to have that kind of comedy.
But you'll get yourself talked about.
Talked about by whom, pray?
The neighbours, for a start.
The neighbours? You don't think I'm seriously concerned with the tittle-tattle of the local petit bourgeoisie, do you? I mean, what would they know of the beauty of the Homeric union between two cultured minds?
Harold, you're on the turn.
When I watched the episodes, I wanted the son desperately to escape. The price for that, there wouldn't be an episode next week. Because you want to, you know he's not going to, but you think, well, maybe this time he can do it. But no, he'll never get through that door.
Not to put too fine a point upon it, Dad. Your very presence tends to impinge upon my aesthetic moments, my little bits of relaxation.
In other words, I get on your tits.
And I think when I started, you couldn't even refer to having oars in rowing boats. Wilfred Bramble and Harry H. Corbett. The H was silent, Harry Corbett. It was there to distinguish him from Sooty's dad. There's clearly some deep-rooted character defect in hoteliers and landlords that makes them ideal, miserable git material. Eric Chappell brilliantly tapped into this when he invented Rigsby, the puffed-up, leching landlord in Rising Damp. And in the hands of Leonard Rossiter, the erstwhile Inspector Bamber from Z-Cars, Rigsby became a comic tour de farce.
Who is it this time, Miss Jones?
What do you mean, Mr. Rigsby?
I wonder why you were getting out your chocolate digestives. Who is this time, eh? Who is it this time has been led on by your cold beauty until he thinks happiness is within this grasp, only to find himself discarded like an old sock?
An old sock?
Until all that's left him is a quiet moment alone with his safety arranged. Who is it? Who is it?
No need for all
No
this.
need, no need. How many hearts are you going to break, Miss Jones?
I haven't broken any heart.
Oh, yes, you have. You break hearts like this, and this, and this, and this, and this. Do you realise what you leave behind, Miss Jones?
There are essentially two kinds of actors. There are wet lip actors and dry lip actors. Rossiter was a wet lip actor. He didn't mind spitting all over the camera. He played it repellent.
I must say, Mr. Rigsby, we have a silver tongue this evening.
Oh, you inspire me, Miss Jones. Would you like to dispose of yourself over here?
Yes.
Would you bring your glass, Miss Jones? Yes.
We let Vienna take the rough off the plates. Here's a little marble getting the tomato sauce out of the crack.
I should imagine some of the scripts were like, you know, twice the size of a normal sitcom script, and he just belts through it.
I had to write extra pages that I've never had to do before or since. And I know that Galton and Simpson did one show with him, and they've never come up short in their lives, but they did on that particular occasion, because he could go through like a machine gun. But every word was clear.
Oh, it is just like VJ night all over again.
VJ night?
Yeah, well, Japan wasn't the only one that surrendered that night, I'll tell you. Marvellous that night. Oh, it was dancing in the streets, fireworks erupting against the night skies, and the free world was celebrating the victory for democracy.
How'd you get on?
Oh, not too good, actually, no. Got a bit too near the fireworks, got a rocket up in battle dress.
Rigsby and Fawlty both share the idea that they deserve better. And they understand, you know, it's like Fawlty's appreciation of Fane Wains or cognacs or whatever. They know that these things exist.
Do you mind, Miss Jones, if I smoke a cigar? I always think it sets a seal on a meal.
Oh, yes, Mr. Rigsby, I love a cigar.
Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Jones, I've only got the one.
A lot of relationships are about people being trapped, and certainly Rising Damp was about that. The characters had nowhere else to go. They had their own little play to play out within the confines of that house.
Yes, we're all one big happy family here, aren't we, Alan?
What?
Eh?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's it. Thank you, Philip. There we are. Yes, I'm like a father to these two that could be my own. Well, almost.
He was a loner, and what he had in common with Philip was that Philip was a loner too, and they were both outsiders for different reasons.
Is it true that your women are much more, you know...
Oh, yeah. Much more.
Yes, I've heard that. Yeah.
It's a medical fact. They get far more excited.
Yeah. Ours are always getting headaches.
It was nice to see a black man in a role where he wasn't sort of, you know, hard West Indian or kind of talking patois or, you know, it was nice seeing a black guy in something where he was actually posh.
There were numerous great scenes when Philip arrived in the house. And Rigsby thought, oh, here at last is someone I can dominate. It's perfect, you know. He's young, wrong colour, everything. I've got this one made. Within 15 minutes, Philip had sorted him out.
He's riddled with superstition. They all are. You know, when they first had petrol stations out there, they spent 3 years worshipping the pumps. He'd have been down on his knees if he'd seen this.
No, he wouldn't.
He would. His eyes would have started to roll, his hands had flapped. He'd have gone, oh, Lordy, I'm right, Lordy, hey, he's coming. Look, watch this. I've got this down the road. He'd be petrified.
Hello, Rigsby.
Well, Rigsby wanted to be part of their lives, which became irritating for them, and it was intrusive. And he was always coming through doors without knocking and said he had right of access, which really meant right of access to their lives, not necessarily to their rooms.
I just don't want you spying on me, that's all.
Who's spying? I'm not spying. Of course, if you want to be bloody secretive...
I'm not secretive.
Where have you been, then?
As a matter of fact, I have been to see Dr. Zhivago.
Oh. What did he say?
Rigsby regards Alan as a young lad who's lost his way and was denied him as a father. If life had been better written, he would have been Alan's father and put him on the right road.
You ought to remember the Depression, mate.
I don't need to. I get it every time I come up here.
And the Hunger Marches.
The only Hunger March you have been on is when you creep downstairs one of Miss Jones's custard creams.
I think the strange thing about Rigsby's relationship with Miss Jones is that he lusts after her because... well, because she's a woman, basically, and I think he probably lusts after most women. But interestingly, I think there's a conflict going on because I think he knows that actually she's not that attractive and she's a bit gangly and she's got a bit of a big gob and her hair's not as nice as it could be, but she's as good and probably better than he's ever going to get.
Time am I, gave and laughter am I,
Right, where do you do sound happy, Miss Jones?
I am happy, Mr. Rigsby. The grass is greener, the flowers are brighter, there's a scent of blossom, and do you know why, Mr. Rigsby?
Horse manure, Miss Jones.
It wasn't just sex, it was something else. It was a way of life that he was looking for as well.
You've got that indefinable something called good taste, Miss Jones.
Do you think so, Mr. Rigsby?
Oh, yes, you made a difference to this place. Shades on the bulbs, blue water in the toilet. Ooh.
She was just a very desperate woman. I mean, you know, you could see she was just sort of gagging for anything
Philip, can you come outside for a moment? My front tire needs pumping up. It's gone flat again.
She's right there for the taking if Rigsby only would throttle back a bit. But he's always got his foot on the accelerator.
And you say you enjoyed the dinner, Miss Jones?
Oh, yes, Mr. Rigsby. I don't think you could have got better fish anywhere.
I know you can get fish a lot better than that, Miss Jones.
Oh, where?
Yarmouth.
Yarmouth? Isn't that rather a long way to go?
Not for the weekend.
Mr. Rigsby, you're not
You
suggesting...
get my drift, Miss Jones.
Do you mean a double room, Mr. Rigsby?
It would simplify the booking arrangements.
But you're a married man.
Oh, in
Mr.
name only, Miss Jones.
But in the eyes of the church...
Oh, forget the church,
Mr.
Miss Jones.
Rigsby, how can you
I have a feeling that if Rising Damp was made now, that eventually the interest would be to see Rigsby and Miss Jones get it together, you know, whereas the comedy relied on the fact that they didn't.
Well, I'll be saying good night then, Miss Jones.
Good night, Mr. Rigsby.
Yes, right.
Rigsby was sexually frustrated. And yet he thought himself superior to Alan. Just as he thought himself superior to Philip. I mean,